What if I told you that civilization already existed in the Americas 5,000 years earlier than this common belief? While the Sumerians were on the verge of inventing writing, while pyramids were just beginning to rise in Egypt, while the Indus Valley civilization, one we mentioned in previous videos, was developing, advanced civilizations had already emerged in the Americas. For decades, the established historical narrative remained unchanged. The American continent was said to have joined the race of development very late. But just a few hours from the Pacific coast, in Peru's dusty valleys, along the banks of the Supe River, a discovery shattered this narrative at its core. The American continent had not joined the journey of civilization late at all. While Egyptian pharaohs were only dreaming of their first pyramids, while Sumerians were struggling to discover writing, on the other side of the world, another revolution was unfolding. Today, we complete a missing piece of human history. We examine the oldest known complex civilization of the Americas, a civilization that existed approximately between 3000 and 1800 BCE. Norte Chico. Enjoy the journey. It is commonly known as Norte Chico, but it is also called Caral-Supe. It existed in what we now call Peru, within harsh desert landscapes. Let's open a parenthesis here. Touristic images of Peru usually show the Andean valleys, while documentaries focus on the Amazon. Norte Chico, however, thrived on Peru's Pacific coast, in one of the driest deserts on Earth. In fact, travelers and archaeologists passed through this region many times, but they misunderstood what they saw. They assumed the massive, strange mounds along the coast were natural formations. No one imagined that this arid valley could alter the course of history. No one believed lifeless landscapes devoid of vegetation could be hiding secrets. Archaeologists usually value tangible artifacts, pottery shards, gold ornaments, or monumental inscriptions. They consider these the signatures of civilization. Yet Norte Chico's earliest settlements had none of these, and so for thousands of years those mounds remained silent. In the 1990s, they finally caught someone's attention: Peruvian archaeologist Ruth Shady. Shady and her team decided to look inside the mounds. It did not take long to realize they were not random, natural formations. Beneath the sand lay a human-made, masterfully engineered urban plan. The sands concealed pyramids, circular plazas, and a complex city structure. The shockwave of this discovery spread through the scientific world, because carbon dating pointed to a single undeniable date: 3000 BCE. This instantly pushed the threshold of civilization in the Americas back by over 1,000 years. It forced history books to be rewritten. What truly sets Norte Chico apart are the conditions under which it emerged. Civilizations are usually defined by pottery, metalworking, and writing. Yet Norte Chico rose without any of these classic tools. These people had not invented the wheel. They did not produce ceramic vessels. And still, they built a civilization spanning 150 hectares. Moreover, they established over 30 massive centers, including the city of Caral. They even had a recording system known as quipu, different from writing as we know it. They used cords of various colors and knots, a sophisticated system of record-keeping. Likewise, while they had no ceramics, they developed complex ventilation systems to regulate temperature inside their massive stone structures. The rise of this civilization coincided almost exactly with the birth of other great civilizations. 5,000 years ago, 4 great curtains were rising at once, between 3000 and 1800 BCE. Norte Chico was the 4th major actor in this global awakening. While Egyptian pharaohs were laying the first stones of the Great Pyramid of Khufu, in Peru's Supe Valley, a massive structure known as the Great Pyramid was already rising. This is a miraculous synchronicity in human history. Across distant corners of the world, complex state structures were emerging. Peoples entirely unaware of one another were striving towards civilization at the same moment. This was not coincidence. It was a sign that humanity had reached an inevitable stage in its evolutionary journey. Norte Chico's economy was built on peaceful cooperation. Those living inland cultivated cotton across vast fields. Coastal communities focused on marine resources, especially fishing. The exchange between these groups was the lifeblood of the civilization. Fishermen used inland cotton to weave enormous, durable nets. Inland farmers met their protein needs through fish. Norte Chico's influence extended across a vast area. How do we know? Archaeological findings reveal exotic bird feathers from the Amazon basin in Caral. Likewise, obsidian from the peaks of the Andes has been found there. This proves that Norte Chico was not an isolated civilization. It was a massive trade network linking diverse climate zones, and it was governed through peaceful diplomacy. No defensive walls have been found, no weapons, no evidence of mass violence, no war chariots, no proof of human sacrifice. It seems Norte Chico existed in peace for nearly 1,000 years, sustained by trade and ritual. Speaking of monumental architecture, we must address Norte Chico's engineering genius. The shikra bags were among their greatest innovations. These bags were woven from plant fibers. They made pyramid construction possible. Stones were placed inside the bags and set into foundations and fill layers. The technique may seem simple, but its implications were profound. Norte Chico stood atop one of the world's most active fault lines. This invention was vital. During earthquakes, the shikra bags allowed stones to move slightly against each other, acting like wheels, absorbing seismic energy, preventing catastrophic collapse. Much like modern earthquake-resistant systems used today. Their architectural brilliance extended beyond durability. The sunken circular plazas at the heart of their cities were equally significant. They were among the most impressive public spaces of the ancient world. Sound echoed perfectly within them, allowing thousands to participate in rituals and gatherings simultaneously. Every step, every angle, every ceiling height was precisely calculated, aligned with the movement of the sun and the position of the stars. They were not just builders, they were observers of the cosmos. Despite lacking writing and metal tools, they achieved advanced levels in seismic engineering and astronomy. Perhaps it is time to rethink our modern definition of advancement. So we have established Norte Chico's grandeur and innovation. But why was the first great civilization of the Americas ignored for so long? There are two main reasons. Unfortunately, modern historiography has long marginalized certain regions. The definition of civilization was shaped by a Eurasian and North African perspective. Societies without ceramics, goldwork, or iron failed to attract interest. The academic prejudice that they could not be fully developed civilizations persisted. As a result, Norte Chico was relegated to the footnotes of history. Western perspectives labeled it primitive and moved on. Additionally, Peru is almost always associated with the Inca Empire. It was visually grand, impressive, and fit established criteria. Its prominence overshadowed the modest yet foundational civilization that came before it. But today, we know that the Inca learned much from Norte Chico. Road systems, governance structures, record-keeping methods, and even the foundations of their cosmology. All of it traces back to the windswept plains of the Supe Valley. The end of Norte Chico is not as mysterious as its rise, yet it is just as thought-provoking. It likely occurred around 1800 BCE. As with many civilizations, climate change and shifts in water sources played a role. Recall the economic system. Farmers supplied cotton to fishermen for nets. Fishermen supplied protein in return. When water routes changed, cotton fields could no longer be irrigated. Fishermen could not weave nets. Neither group could sustain itself. Cities were gradually abandoned. People migrated northward to more fertile valleys and higher plateaus. The cities emptied. Sand covered the pyramids, but their cultural legacy did not vanish. Norte Chico's thousand-year tradition shaped every subsequent Andean civilization: Chavin, Moche, Nazca, and ultimately the Inca. The first link in America's great chain of civilizations was quietly buried. Norte Chico tells us that civilization does not depend on swords, gold, or iron. They existed in one of the world's harshest landscapes. Through cooperation, cotton threads, and maritime skill, they created America's first great miracle. This is a lesson the modern world, consumed by ambition and conflict, should heed. Today, armed with our most advanced technologies, we still struggle to survive. How far have we drifted from the wisdom of those who, 5,000 years ago, built a 1,000-year order without writing, metal, or war? Perhaps true progress requires not more technology, but less greed.